The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Yes, indeed. This is the place.
Have a laugh and save your soul.
This is the place.
Don't have to put your allegiance or stand in line. No ticket to buy, no paper to sign. You found it.
This is the place. This is the place, everyone. Welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Anthony is here. Say hi, Anthony.
Hello.
Denver's here.
Howdy.
And I am the Monty Man. And we are here because we are all together. Or we're not all together. We're falling apart. Or something.
We're getting it together.
Yes.
Just don't drink.
Walk the walk.
If you're ready. This is the place. This is the place where I wear no mask.
So Ferdinand is Cecil's cousin. Ferdinand's going to come sing a song here in just a couple seconds.
We're anxious.
Yes, we are.
Come on in. This is the place.
I don't know how to recognize you. You got a diaper on your face, too.
Amen.
I don't know who you are. Are you a real alcoholic? Or just someone hanging at the bar? What do we do from this point on? Social distancing by the length of my arm. At least by the length of my arm. That's enough.
Yes. That's right. That's Ferdinand. That's Cecil's cousin. Ferdinand, thank you. Yeah, so I guess it's supposed to be, social distancing is supposed to be 6 feet or 2 arms length. So at the very least, the length of your arm.
I only have one.
Right, I only have one arm, so I can't tell. That is great segue into our topic, the 12-step rooms and social distancing this week. And there's Denver and Anthony. Wave. Yeah, there they are. And so we're going to be talking about that this week. What kind of impact has that had on the recovery community, if any? And so, we could spend our time complaining, but... Uh-oh.
I excuse me for interrupting, but Monty Man, don't you have something to share with everybody?
Yes.
That is not a whine or a complaint, but something marvelous, don't you?
That's odd.
That'd be something marvelous.
No complaint.
Yeah. So Marcia and I celebrated 31 years of marriage last week.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That is definitely a win.
That's a win-win.
Yeah.
It has been filled with challenges and opportunities that have just really been, at every turn, have been not boring.
Yeah, nicely spoken.
Yeah, she is an amazing woman, and when we look back at 31 years of marriage, which obviously is more than that, of actually knowing each other, I'm still at awe at how or why God would choose such an amazing woman to match with this knucklehead and put up with my stuff. I mean, it's interesting because, Denver, you didn't know me back then. Anthony knew me back when I was living out my knuckleheadedness to the fullest. So you're probably amazed that she put up with me too, right, Anthony?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no. Well, yes and no. I am amazed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she is an amazing woman.
She is.
She's strong.
Yeah.
Just,
She don't take no guff. I'll tell you that right now.
right.
She don't take no guff. She was watching last night. I was in the kitchen and I heard this thing and it was like deep Southern accent. And I go, "What are you watching?" And she was watching one of the Bates senior members of the Bates family. Was it the Bates family? I think so.
I don't know what we're
It's
talking
It's
about.
one of those families that has all these kids, and it's a Christian home, and they're all in ministry, and it's on some off station or whatever. And she likes to watch these shows of these families that go around and sing for God and do all this stuff. And the guy was preaching, and you could tell it was the Bible Belt because behind him there was this big white cross that was bigger than the building itself, and it was very polished. The cross was, it was like perfectly graphically designed. And he's standing in front of it, and he looked like about the size of an ant in front of this cross. But she was watching that. She loves shows like that, and any show that uplifts God, or is a positive input in her life. She likes to watch, and she just amazes me because I like to watch bang bang shoot 'em ups and special effects shows and that kind of thing. But and I was sitting there and I was just looking at her in amazement that she has tolerated me for 31 years. And so, yeah, there's no whining involved there. I'm just so
wonderful.
thankful. Yeah, very, very much. All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna hit this topic, the 12-step rooms and social distancing. When we return, don't go away. We'll be back right after this.
This is the place. This is the place.
Hello, this is the Blues Buddha. You're listening to Take12Radio.com with the Monty Man.
Hey, are you like me and you're sick and tired of all the character assassination, backbiting, and all the mumbo-jumbo going on social networking? I get it. Listen, if you want to trash that whole thing and make your life easier and more serenity, go for it. But you don't have to throw away our broadcasting. Here's my son Cameron to explain how you can continue on with Take 12 Recovery Radio, even if you leave social networking.
Check it out. You can now access all of our shows from a variety of podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Podomatic, and Player FM. Simply search for Take 12 Recovery Radio, and you'll be tuned into the best in recovery broadcast journalism. Also available at take12radio.com.
See, now wasn't that simple? That's how you do it. Now, back to our show.
If I had one more chance to do it all again, maybe I'd change a thing or two. I'm sure there's a fence to mend. Like you, there's some regrets. I see where I've been wrong. But living in the past only holds me back, while wasted time rolls on. So where does it go from here? What lies around the bend? Why do you ask all these things when today's all we've got, my friend?
As Mr. Mike O'Brien, we're going to be hearing again from him. Our closing song this week from Mike is entitled I Love You, and dedicate that to my wife, 31 years. That'll be our closing song. He is a brand new recovery recording artist, and you can visit his website at mikeobrien.com for more of his music. All right, so Alcoholics Anonymous in the digital age has certainly taken on a new meaning in these challenging times. Alcoholics Anonymous is not a place or an event It exists in the hearts, minds, and help freely offered by its members. I like that. I like that statement. That comes from the World Service Office. Alcoholics Anonymous is not a place or an event. It exists in the hearts and minds and help freely offered by its members. And if that is true, I think we're able, AA, and if you applied that to NA or CA or Celebrate Recovery or any recovery fellowship, I think if you applied that principle, that it exists in the hearts and minds and it's freely given as a help, that we can survive anything, even a pandemic or a pseudo-pandemic or a make-believe safety structure or a valid one or whatever your opinion is. I think we can survive it. But I don't think it's without its toll that it takes. But there may be some positive things that have come out of this whole social distancing thing when it comes to recovery meetings. So let's look at what is social distancing. According to one particular website, it says social distancing, also called physical distancing, means keeping a safe space between yourself and other people who are not from your household. Some people would like to keep.
Yeah, let me ingest on that one.
Right? Some people would like to keep distance from people that are in their household. To practice social or physical distancing, stay at least 6 feet, about 2 arms length, from other people who are not from your household in both indoor and outdoor spaces. COVID-19 spreads mainly among people who are in close contact within about 6 feet for a prolonged period. Note that, for a prolonged period. Spread happens when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and droplets from their mouth or nose are launched into the air and land on the mouths or noses of people nearby. The droplets can also be inhaled into the lungs. If you are fully vaccinated, that means 2 weeks after the second dose or 2 weeks after the single J&J shot. If you are fully vaccinated, you can resume activities that you did prior to the pandemic. Fully vaccinated people can resume activities without wearing a mask or physically distancing, except, and I love this, except where required by federal, state, local, tribal, or territorial laws, rules, and regulations, including local businesses and workplace guidance. So in other words, you can go about your business if you're fully vaccinated, except in all these areas of society that we may change at our whim, depending on who your governor is.
Oh, amen.
Or how sober she may be at the time. Did I say that?
Yeah, well, it came out loud.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so whatever you may feel about that, the fact is there are mixed feelings about all this stuff, and it has had an impact of one way or another, or both, on our recovery community, right? Yeah. So let me read you. This is an article that came out. This was May 11th of 2020. That came out from an official statement from Alcoholics Anonymous called "The Message Carries On Amid Coronavirus: Physical Distant but Digitally Connected." And it says, most recently, coronavirus, COVID-19, has affected many AA groups that normally would meet in person. The General Service Office, GSO, of Alcoholics Anonymous, U.S. and Canada, which functions as the official statement for AA members and groups who are looking for shared experience from the AA Fellowship, has some general experience to share regarding this issue. Some AA members have shared that meetings online have been an adjustment and has at times had its challenges. Adhering to state, provincial, and federal guidelines, many AA members have switched from in-person meetings to digital meetings on platforms such as Zoom, Google Hangouts, conference calls, GoToMeetings, and WhatsApp, allowing the group to continue to focus on AA's primary purpose, to carry its message of recovery to the alcoholic who still suffers. In a sense, however, this current experience is not necessarily new for AA. From its earliest beginnings, the AA founders recognized the need to reach beyond the face-to-face transmission of the AA message, giving rise to the development of AA's basic text, the book Alcoholics Anonymous. This book and other AA materials, which are widely available on multiple platforms, digital, audio, video, has literally circled the globe and opened the door to recovery for thousands of alcoholics looking for help. Even prior to this pandemic, many AA members around the world, whether homebound, living in remote areas, or service members stationed in far-flung places, have counted on participating in an AA remotely through AA literature, phone calls, and other members' correspondence by letter or email, and meetings online. While many AA members are for the first time reporting the shift from in-person meetings to digital platforms, for many alcoholics around the world, remote connections and digital platforms are how they initially encountered and maintained their recovery in AA, even prior to the pandemic. Many AA groups have shared with GSO, that's the General Service Office, that they are now finding great connection in digital meetings and want to offer that same experience to anyone who has yet to attend their first meeting. There are a number of other AA resources as well, and those seeking help with a drinking problem can get local AA information through the GSO website. All right. What I'm hearing there is their attempt to give a positive spin to this problem. And I think they did a good job. And what they've done is they've brought up the fact that for years, people that lived in remote areas or people that weren't able to get to meetings have had access to Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's not just AA. NA has, because of their literature, Celebrate Recovery, Alcoholics for Christ, any of your groups, Marijuana Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, all have conference-approved literature for their organization that enables people to participate in the program, maybe not the fellowship, but the program of their fellowships. And so in that way, the message of AA in this case can be carried on. And it has been. And I remember attending in San Antonio several years ago, the World Convention of Alcoholics Anonymous. And there was a table there by, I can't remember the name of the group, but it's the group of people that meet every couple years at the World Convention that represent people that have no meetings at all because they're, at a weather station in Antarctica or whatever, right? And they're able to stay sober because they work the program from the literature. And isn't that the way it was meant to be anyway? Meetings were not even, they were like the least of the focus when it came to working a program of recovery. They were great and all, but it was prayer and meditation. It was reading the good book. It was applying the book of James and the Sermon on the Mount. And it was having the hand of Alcoholics Anonymous out and available for anybody who needs it in any way you can. And a lot of that was example by visiting people in the sanitariums and in the hospitals and so forth and so on. But we've become so meeting dependent that what has happened is when the meetings, when we weren't able to practice our fellowshipping like we used to, we saw a great deal of people start to relapse. Why? I think because they were meeting dependent and not program or God dependent. That's my opinion. At the same time, I see where it has been a struggle because most people in today's world, how do they even know about Alcoholics Anonymous or these other programs? By showing up at the meetings. And if there's no meeting to show up to, how do you even get a big book? How do you even find out that there is such literature or such programs? So the flip side of that is this has really harmed, AAs and future AAs in ways that, I don't know. You guys chime in here. Anthony, how about you first, man? What do you think?
I know that I missed the in-person meetings.
Sure.
For sure. But you have a great point. Without meetings, you can still work a program. You can still stay sober. But no, I have missed the fellowship, and but even without the meetings, I'm still in contact with a lot of the people from my meetings, by phone and yeah. I'm not sure. I think it would be really hard for the newcomer.
Yeah.
Because they aren't as experienced in how the program works.
It would be.
I can't imagine somebody coming in just right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hitting, and they're like, I'm on step 1. What do I do now?
Right.
It's. Ugh.
I think you're right. I think this has affected the newcomer probably more than anybody else.
Right.
Because if you're an old timer and you have been applying and implementing the principles that are in the program, the literature, then this pandemic ought not affect you in a way that would drive you to relapse.
Right.
Unless you haven't been doing that, and all you've been doing year after year after year is drinking bad coffee and whining about your day, then I can see where you might fall off the rails. Excuse me. Did you attend any online meetings or any Zoom meetings or any of that kind of thing?
I did maybe a handful of Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea.
Right.
I'm not real tech savvy in the first place, and then I don't know. The technology is fickle too, and if you don't have like a really good Wi-Fi or hotspot or whatever the thing is that you need, dropped call, and you got to log back in, and
it's a pain.
The whole rigmarole. But you know what? I was thinking about that the other day too. Even if there wasn't a pandemic, and working a program isn't always easy.
No,
it's not. If you're doing it the way it's lined out to be done by the geniuses who set it up,
right?
It's not gonna be. It's a simple program, not an easy one.
Turn your mic a little bit pointing towards you a little bit more.
Like this?
Yeah, and then down. There you go.
Like that.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know. Just
So even with all the technology we have here in the studio, trying to do a Zoom meeting even from in here was a challenge.
Yeah.
And the fact is that there are just a ton of elderly folks in these fellowships that aren't necessarily old-timers. Right. A lot of them are newcomers that don't even have home computers.
Right.
Bing, bing.
Or smartphones or any of that stuff. So what do they do? It's been rough. What do you think, Denver?
I think a lot of things. I think this digital age, with all the knowledge you can get off it, is wonderful. I mean, I remember laying in bed listening to speaker meetings late at night.
Right.
Nobody around. I sure enjoyed them,
Yeah.
But there is nothing, because I'm maybe from that generation or I don't know, but there is nothing that is ever going to replace the fellowship for me.
Yeah, the in-person, face-to-face, walking through the door.
It really is important.
It is.
So, this media serves a purpose. I've never been to a Zoom meeting, wouldn't even know how to get there. Mm-hmm. Don't plan on it.
Right.
So, I really, I miss in-person, whether it's meetings, church, as much as I don't like to say this, grocery store, everything.
Right.
I'm a social person that needs to interact some. So,
and yet you're a very private person too, though.
I love my privacy.
Yeah.
You will always hear me talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, my solitude and quiet time is very, very important to me, and it seems like the older I get, the more I enjoy it.
Right.
So it just, but nonetheless, I really do need one-on-1, 1-on-15 contact.
Yeah.
I do.
I think, and I'm gonna camp out on this a little bit more, and just I know I just said it, but I just can't drive it home enough. I think other than the newcomers, which I totally get, people that have been around year after year after year and who have not been applying and implementing the program in the literature of whatever fellowship they're attending, who relapse because they can't get to meetings. It isn't because they couldn't get to a meeting. It's because they haven't been applying the program. The program is not the meeting. That's the fellowship. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to back down from that statement. I believe that's absolutely accurate. However, the person who has not been taught, who has not been guided by a qualified sponsor, and what I mean by a qualified sponsor is somebody that has had a spiritual awakening as a result of working those steps. Not somebody that's on step 3 who's sponsoring somebody who's on step 1. I'm talking about somebody who has worked through this program. They've had a spiritual awakening, and they're applying and implementing these principles on a daily basis, and they're working with others. Without that help, a newcomer is going to find it very difficult to apply and implement the program at home with or without a book. Now, there are people that have sat down with the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous or the Basic Text of Narcotics Anonymous or the 12 Steps and Principles of Celebrate Recovery or whatever, and have actually learned and applied and implemented those principles on their own, just between them and God. It does happen, but it's rare that a person does that by themselves solo. It's just rare. At least I haven't heard too many, you know. So I am of the opinion that we need each other to be able to do this stuff. And so, again, where do you find each other? Well, at the meetings. And so it has had an impact. But let me flip this on its head and say that I think there has been also an increase of membership in fellowships because people that would not normally go to a meeting have gotten on the Zoom call. They're scared to death to walk in that door, but they're not scared to death to get on the computer, the ones that have them, or smartphone, and actually engage. I would love to hear from anybody who's listening that has experienced that, or perhaps you've never ever been to a meeting, but you did it because technology allowed you to, where before you wouldn't have gotten in your vehicle or walked down to the meeting hall, but you have engaged because of technology. I'm hearing from several of my colleagues that has been the case. So there's a positive spin on that as well. Have you heard anything like that,
No.
Anthony? You haven't. Okay.
I could see that working, though.
Yeah.
I could.
I've heard people say that they prefer the Zoom meetings, but I haven't heard of like I'm so glad there's Zoom meetings now, so I can go to meetings because
Right.
Yeah.
So were you gonna say never?
Well, that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I understand that there are probably people that do not want to socially mingle and are very happy to have this opportunity to come about that way.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing. It's just not my blessing.
Yeah, I hear you.
I like that. It's a blessing. It's just not my blessing.
So let's talk about the politics of this thing. I mean, man,
I don't know.
Woo, baby.
Really? We going to touch on that?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
let me readjust.
I mean, boy, did I see a lot of fighting and fretting on social media because certain groups, which will go unnamed, have Facebook pages. And there would be a lot of, who are you to shut the meeting down just because the governor says we can't meet? Or who are you to keep the meeting open when the governor says we can't meet? And back and forth and back and forth. Remember, those were not laws that were demanding of us. Those were mandates. They weren't laws. But some people took it on themselves. Some individuals I watched took it on themselves without group conscience to shut down the meeting or require certain things of the meeting as individuals. We're only going to have 2 tables open, not 3. We're not going to sit 6 feet apart. We're going to sit 12 feet apart. There's only going to be 5 people out in one meeting that I know of. We're only going to allow 5 people in the room at a time. Right. And that was decided on by the GSR and nobody else. Or we're not going to abide by any safety protocols, and we don't care, and our noses in the air to the authorities in our government, and we're going to do what we want. I mean, it certainly lent itself to pulling back the veneer of maybe some of our, being a good boy or good girl and finding out who we really are underneath.
Right.
Have you guys heard any scuttlebutt as far as like people arguing about how to do a meeting or?
You
don't have to be careful on this station.
Okay, there's this one. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, or even group names or nothing. But there's been a group or 2 that I attended before this all happened.
Right.
That because the venue
required
was like, okay, yeah, we'll allow you to have your meetings now, but we want everybody to sign their name, their phone number, so we can do contact track tracing
in case something happens.
In case something happens. And there was the question, like, our full name? Well, yeah. Well, that goes against that. That's the anonymity broken all over the place. So I was like, no,
it's not though.
But it's not. Explain to me how it's not, because those people aren't even a part of our meeting. They just are the host of our.
Right. We ought to maintain personal anonymity at the level of press radio, and film. Period. Okay. No other area.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now personally though, if a person is not comfortable with giving their full name or phone number out to an outside entity, they should feel free not to do that and find another meeting.
Right.
I mean, if the meeting is going to, if the place that is giving you permission to meet for $1 a meeting or a penny a meeting or whatever it is, right? They have a right as private property to enforce whatever rules they decide to enforce. Maybe some places they don't want you having beverages, coffee or food in their meeting hall. And so we'll say, okay, we'll abide by that. The meeting is way more important than the beverage or the food.
Right.
So if a church or a meeting hall or a business place says, we want to be able to notify you in case somebody gets sick, and we need your name and your phone number to be able to do that, and we require that if you're going to meet here, it is our choice as a group conscience to decide whether we're going to meet there or not. If we decide we are going to meet there, and we're going to abide by that, and that's the group conscience, I think people need to put up with it and just say that was the group conscience, and I'm good with it. I mean, if we're going by group conscience.
Well, you really got me thinking now.
Yeah.
Because my opinion was completely different before we started this conversation on that.
Yeah, well, I get it, though. I totally get that. I mean, that might make me feel uncomfortable, too. But is it making me feel uncomfortable because I think they're going to come spy on me at my house to see if I'm drinking? Or is it making me feel uncomfortable because I want my rights?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't have a problem giving somebody my first and last name and my phone number. I really don't. Is it a pride issue? Or is it just, well, it's the point. It's just making the point. But the anonymity tradition, it doesn't go there. It's at a certain level. And so if you don't follow it at any other level, if you do follow it, you're already breaking it. So if it's above or below the level of press, radio, and film, then that's a traditions violation right there. So it's only at those levels. And by the way, it's our public relations policy. It's based on attraction rather than promotion, not our personal stories. So we throw away, we throw around this anonymity thing, and we attach it to all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Made you think, didn't I?
Can you see the smoke billowing out of my head right now?
Oh boy, I opened a can of worms.
Yeah.
The email address is take12radio at Comcast.net.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful, though. I'll tell you. I agree with you to the fact that if you're in somebody's house, you obey the rules.
Right.
When you said, it's their building, and if whatever. I don't agree with masks, but if it's part of the program of where I'm at, then I'll comply. It's that simple.
Sure.
It's courtesy, maybe. I don't know. Manners. I'm going to comply to whatever. And if I don't like it, like you said, there's one right down the road that I can find somewhere that's going to work. It'll work.
I mean, I think, I have no, and I haven't from the very beginning. If my mom and pop store down the street, in order for them to stay in business, I need to throw on a mask before I go in and get my donut or whatever. I'm willing to do that. It's not a big deal, but the right fighter in me wants to kick against it. But really, when it's all said and done, what's more important, right? And so when it comes to meetings, what's more important, being present for the newcomer, or saying, well, I'm not going there because they want my phone number? They're not calling you anyway. But I mean, what's more vital? I mean, I don't know. We were drinking in public. We were shooting dope in Safeway parking lots. We were doing all sorts of stuff. And all of a sudden, we're worried about whether somebody wants to contact us to let us know that maybe we're sick. Maybe we could have been open to a virus. But I get it, because we are right fighters, and there's people listening right now that their hair's standing on the back of their head. That's okay. I don't know. I spoke at a meeting not long ago that Anthony was at. In fact, he was in charge of getting the speakers for the meeting, and I had to wear a mask, except for when I was talking, which I thought was interesting, because when I'm not talking, I have to wear the mask when there's no droplets coming out.
Right,
but when I am talking and there's droplets coming out, I don't have to wear the mask. But that wasn't a mandate from the AA group I was speaking at. That was from the owners of the building that asked us to do that. Isn't that true?
I don't really remember.
Yeah, I think it was said that they requested that we do that. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll throw it on.
It's respect.
I find it funny though that like restaurants, for instance, you have to wear your mask going in, but then once you sit down to eat, you don't have to wear your mask. And I've kind of joked about it off and on, because the virus isn't going to attack you when you're eating and you're sitting down here. It's only up here when you're. It's
right. Oh, none of it makes any sense.
It's not when you're smacking your mouth.
Yeah.
And we all know what it's about. It's all about control and trying to get you to, behave.
Comply.
I like a hat this guy was wearing the other day. It says, "Lion, not a sheep." I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
There you opened up the can of worms already.
But on the other side of the coin, though, too, Anthony, you're right. I mean, your personal anonymity is your business,
right?
And if you don't want to give out your full name, the thing that's interesting about that, though, if I'm known as the Monty Man and I don't give out my full name, right? Eventually, people are going to know me as the Monty Man year after year after year, and they're going to think that's my full name, Monty Man.
I really have no problem with anybody knowing
Right.
You know, as long as they don't know where I live, everybody, you know, I'm good. But yeah, I don't know. I heard that and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, we're
right.
We're anonymity, and I just jumped on board with it without really thinking it through, I guess. But
everybody,
no, that's okay.
Everybody knew me as a drunk. They might as well know me as a sober too. You know?
Yeah.
I spread my name around everywhere.
But there is a difference. There is a difference between our personal choices and what the traditions state.
Right.
You know, and so we need to respect them.
Well, like,
but we need to understand them in order to be able to respect them properly.
Well, as far as, you know, jumping back to the anonymity thing, I have a jacket that was given to me for a sobriety birthday, and it's a Sam Fit jacket. Not trying to advertise from Sam Fit or nothing, but like, and my name was embroidered on it, my full name, and I wore that jacket to a meeting, and somebody goes, "You can't do that," and I'm like, "Why?" Because that's breaking anonymity. I'm like, "But it's my anonymity."
Yeah, it's
mine.
mine.
And it was like, this person just sat there and kind of stewed. And I don't know.
That's too bad. But that's because that person does not know the literature. The person doesn't understand it and there's lots of people running around that just don't know. They don't read their own program. You know, that's within the fellowship. And Dr. Bob mentioned in conference-approved literature that there is no room for personal anonymity within the fellowship. No room for it. So you actually are to let people know your first and your last name. But that comes with understanding that. But if you've been taught wrong by somebody who was taught wrong, you're going to believe it. You know, and if your sponsor taught you that because they don't know, I get it. Yeah, interesting stuff. So people right now are going, well, how can you guys do this show if you claim membership in a particular 12-step fellowship? Because this is considered radio. Some people add, and I know the General Service Office has added at the level of press, radio, films, and intranet. Here's the thing about that, just to ease everybody's mind. Nobody here in this room is claiming membership in AA. Mm-mm. Just because we attend a meeting doesn't mean we claim membership. We don't claim membership on this show. We don't claim that we are representing Alcoholics Anonymous or any other 12-step program on this show. In fact, at the beginning of this show, we state that this program has no affiliation with any particular 12-step fellowship. So get over your bad self if you're thinking about throwing us under the bus for that, because none of us are claiming that. Yeah. Some people are going, well, you're just splitting hairs. Okay, well, it's a pretty thick hair to split, and we can do that. So there you go. Okay. Any last thoughts?
I'll always have my favorites, and I'm not ashamed to talk about them. So, yeah, I'm not affiliated full-time with nothing.
With nothing. Right? Right. Yeah. So, listen, if the pandemic has affected your recovery in such a way that it has kept you from socializing with other people in recovery, please, there are ways to get reconnected with other people in recovery other than the meeting hall. Mm-hmm. Please do that. I mean, Anthony, you and I know a couple that have hosted meetings in their backyard for some time now, including barbecues and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's outdoors. Everybody practices social distancing for the most part. It's a safe place to go. Do that, but don't stop meeting. Right. You know, you can meet and follow the procedures of the governing authorities. You can do that. There are ways to get around all that stuff and be able to do it. So don't stop fellowshipping. All right. Well, if there's nothing more, let me see here. Our closing song is by Mike O'Brien, and I dedicate this to my wife of 31 years. Here's Mike with I Love You.
You're getting on my nerves. I break and I swerve 'cause I love you. You're tripping me out. I think before I shout 'cause I love you. Watch what I say 'cause it's better that way when I love you. I do. Your point of view is strange. I've learned to play the game 'cause I love you. You're making no sense. I straddle on the fence 'cause I love you. I'm gonna watch what I say 'cause it's better that way when I love you. I do. It's been a long, long time. So glad you are mine. It's been a long, long time. And it sure feels fine to love you. Yeah, yeah.
So let me just chime in here and say that the lyrics to this great song, I Love You, by Mike O'Brien, probably should be reversed. These are probably what my wonderful, beautiful wife, Marcia, would be singing about me, because I drive her crazy. And she is so patient and so kind and so loving and puts up with all of my character defects. Marcia, I love you so much. It's been a great 31 years. Let's do some more of it. I love you.
Throwing me a curve, I break and I swerve 'cause I love you. You're driving me insane. I learned to play the game 'cause I love you. I'm gonna watch what I say 'cause it's better that way when I love you. I do. It's been a long, long time. So glad you are mine. It's been a long, long time. I'm yours, you are mine. It's been a long, long time. And it sure feels fine to love you. To love you. Yeah, yeah. I love you. I love you. It's been a long, long time. I still love you.
All right, Mr. Mike O'Brien with his song, I Love You. For more of his great music, visit his website at Mike O'Brien, that's Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, MikeO'Brien.com. Listen, if you would like to sponsor our show to help keep us on the air, we're in real need of sponsors right now. We would appreciate any amount. No amount is too small. Visit us at take12radio.com. Click on down to the left-hand side of the page at the bottom. There's a donate button there. Pray about it. Consider it. And if you're not able to do that, that's fine. This is always for fun and for free to you, our listeners. If it weren't for you, who would we be talking to? Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
Come on in. Come on in.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
This is the place.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Meow, meow, meow.
Woof.
Woof.